It is time. I'm not excited to work on this tractor. I really don't know much about this kind of stuff, but we're gonna start with what we do know is wrong and poke at it from there and see what we can figure out. I know that the battery terminal is bad, so I need to replace the plug for that. And I know that the coil is bad, and that's on the other side, and I have a replacement for that. So we're gonna start with those two, and then we'll just see if I can get the truck up to try and jump it. Might be a little muddy over here yet, so we'll see if I can actually get it up here. Next we have a new coil. So pretty positive this one is bad. I don't remember why I came to this conclusion, but I replaced it at one point and I accidentally put a 6-volt on there instead of a 12-volt coil, and that one exploded and started smoking and everything. So I put the old one back on there, and it worked for a bit, but that's what it was. As we were jumping it, it ended up getting really hot, and I believe I also burned that one out. So I'll just have to be mindful of how hot this new one gets so that I don't also burn it out. But right now it's behind this whole jumble wire mess from this distributor, which I just replaced that last summer. Looks like we got a bunch of oil up on here though, a bunch of grease. Not sure what that's from. But yeah, I've just replaced this. So we'll get this replaced and see what's what from there. Okay. Well, I guess we'll just see if I can jump it with the truck, see what happens from there. I guess. Gotta see if I can even get the truck over by that battery. Up. I'm gonna give it just a couple minutes to sit and try and charge, and then I will see what the tractor does. So the carb is definitely dry, and a gum caked on the bottom of the this off completely and take it apart and get it cleaned up. That's also probably a pretty bad sign. I don't have any fuel coming. Take a look at my fuel filter. It doesn't look like it's even filled all the way to the top of this, so we might not even be getting fuel into my fuel filter right now. So I guess obviously check to see if we even have gas in the tank, or if it drained out over winter. Alright, so I checked up top and there is not really any fuel in there. We had a few gallons in there before winter when we were messing with it before, but seems that all drained out, and don't know where it would have leaked from, but we'll see if we can find that and trace that down. But first I'm going to clean that carb, being it's all dry, see if I can get it nice and clean before we try shoving some fuel into it. It smells like gas, so it's not water. There's a lot of rust in that. This is carb cleaner. The nozzles broke off, but sit like that for a bit. Take a look at this other side. I don't hear any liquid in the floats, so that's good. That one's dirty. Man. That could have been my problem. I don't know if this is my high and low idle, but that could have been my problem, where I was not being able to get any power out of it, where I could get it to idle, but as soon as I try and give it any juice, it wouldn't go up into a high idle, and it just wouldn't do much. So maybe, cross my fingers, that's the problem there. Start putting it back together. I should do another dose in those too. All these holes have to be so clean for things to work right. So if it sits, should sit in there like that. Which means I gotta stay so I can drain it when need be. And then this one I believe is my low and high idle, which I'll have to poke around at to try and get it to actually idle correctly when I'm trying to do things. So right now I'm just going to put it in there until it feels, I don't know, just a random guess really. It's going to be a bit of playing around with. I'll probably put it all the way in and then I'll back it out a little bit. Alright, so all the way in and then I'll just back it out like 3 full revolutions. Half one, half two, 3, half 4. Alright, took it out 4, and then I'll take this one and I'll do just the same thing, and this one is how much fuel it's letting in. See what happens, I guess. I put a few gallons of gas in the tank. I haven't hooked it up to the carb yet because I'm going to take that fuel line and I'm going to let a little bit of fuel out just to make sure there's no junk or anything in there, no water that's been sitting in there, any of that junk. So I'll let a little bit out and then I'll get it on the carb. And I think it's been sitting long enough that hopefully it should actually try and start. And then we'll cross our fingers. That was some pretty yellow, nasty stuff. So I just went until it came out clear, so we'll see. I'm so dumb. I let some gas out, made sure it came out clear, and then I didn't even hook it up to the carb and turn it on. All right, now it's hooked up. Coming out of that end of the carb, so I know we're getting gas. Next step, I guess, is to make sure I'm getting spark onto the spark plugs. Ooh, that is black. I'm pretty sure black means that there's a lot of extra fuel. But I gotta hold this to some metal and see if I can get this to spark while I push the start. Alright, so I don't see any spark on this. So, that's a problem, of course. Ooh, that's hot. I better let that thing cool off for a while. That one's pretty nasty. Well, before I try and just take this apart too much, I'll just try another spark plug just in case. That one's just a fluke. No spark. Okay. Well, from here, I don't really know what to do. That thing's still wicked hot. Not getting spark from the spark plugs. So I wonder if I take this here. Let's put that back. We'll take this spark plug. Okay, and we'll take it off of here. Pop it directly. Ugh. Put it right on the coil. Okay. And then if I take and check the spark straight off the coil, should hopefully see something. No spark on that still. What? Why? Okay, why else would we have no spark? We're clearly getting power to this because it gets really warm. I mean, maybe my coil is just bad, but that doesn't make sense. It's brand new. But pretty sure I should be getting a spark off of this if I put it on there. Now I'm pretty sure if I were to hold the starter and touch this here, I should get some sort of spark. No spark at all. So that has to be not the right thing then, or just bad out of the box. I think I might have a clue what is going on with this thing, and I think it all has to do with this distributor that I replaced the insides for, because I know for sure that was the problem originally, and I fixed it and started getting a spark at one point last year. And then now, after sitting it, we don't have any spark. And I saw that this connection here for the point, when the tractor is off, which it is currently, it is bridging that connection, which means that my coil is getting power directly from the battery, and it's coming through, and it's getting bridged to ground, which grounds to the negative on the battery. So I am just causing a loop here, which would cause this coil to probably burn out and die, even when the tractor's sitting here off. And that's also why the battery always dies. So I think I need to turn this distributor so that this connection is open when it's off, and then as it rotates, it closes the connection, making this close its magnetic field and shoot off a spark out of the top here. So I'm going to try and adjust that, and then I'm going to take this new coil and I'm going to try and hook it directly to the battery and see if I can get something out of it, because I have not been able to get any sort of spark out of the top of this. Putting my distributor turned here is making this connection open as far as it goes with this corner. So if I put it back over here, then that connection is closed. So when the tractor's off, I want that to be open. So I think I'm going to leave it there, put everything back on here, and then it should, as this turns, close and open that connection every time it hits one of these bumps. Okay, so testing this coil, I am sure that it's probably dead because of that bridge connection in the distributor. But what I have going on here is I've got a couple jumper cables hooked up to the battery of the truck, and then I have the positive of the jumper cable going to the positive on my distributor, and then I have the negative going to the outside of a spark plug that is, I think it's one for a chainsaw, but I know it's a brand new spark plug. And then I also have this wire connected to this ground so that when I go and bridge the connection on this, I'll just be tapping it on the coil, and every time I tap it, it should make this spark plug spark if the coil is good. And we have nothing. So I believe that the coil is bad, even though I just got this. I'll probably try this again with the old coil and that little 6-volt coil, which I know this is a 12-volt battery and it's too much for that 6-volt, but if I'm just testing it, I think I should be okay just trying it a couple times. But we'll see if we can get something. So I wasn't getting a very good connection with my ground wire for the negative on this, so I put it over directly on the battery over there. But you can see with this old coil, I actually get a spark here. And every time I touch it, it's very faint, but there is a spark on the spark plug. So I think my old coil is still good. That new one is definitely toast. And the 6 volts seem to also work. So I'll hook up this old one. And now that I changed the orientation of that distributor, we'll see if that actually lets it fire up. See if we get a spark after the distributor now. Moment of truth. I cleaned off a good ground spot here to test my spark plug. Got everything hooked up, and we're just gonna see if we get some sort of shock here when we turn it over. Oh, I forgot to turn on the power switch. Yeah, got some spark now. Okay, so I'm gonna put the spark plugs back in and we'll see what we get. Farther than I was. Yeah. I don't know. my spark plugs are not timed correctly. So I'm probably gonna have to mess with their orientation on there. Guess I'll go poke at it. Ended up being a timing issue on the distributor, so I was able to adjust that slowly, move it around, and I got it to a point where it actually did start. It was a struggle, but it started, and then I slowly moved it until it sounded really nice. So now that it's sounding nice idling, I'm going to mess around with the carb and see if I can get it to get the high idle. Because that was the problem I was having before. Every time I tried to give it any power, it would just putter out and die. Well, that's pretty exciting. Got it running. Definitely more issues though. None of the hydraulic stuff is working. Can't get that going. I'm not sure if maybe all the hydraulic fluid is out or it's low on pressure. What's going on there? So I'll have to dig into that, see if I can figure something out. Obviously, the one tire is pretty flat, but I gave it all the power it had and let it try and go. It just spun that back wheel over there, but it seems that it has plenty of power. So I don't think I'm going to have any of that low power issue anymore. And then also the steering wheel is leaking, which is kind of an odd issue, I think, but it's leaking this fluid. It's really oily. It makes me think that it might be like hydraulic fluid, but I don't really know what that is. I don't know why there'd be hydraulic in the steering wheel. So I got to figure out what that's about, and that could be the issue with my hydraulics altogether, so I don't know. So more to dig into, but we're running, which is super exciting. That has taken a lot of time and a lot of troubleshooting and learning a lot of things that I really don't know anything about. So I took apart the steering wheel, took off this outside ring where it was leaking up here, and that jacket is actually right there, and there's a seal in there that is leaking. So I'm gonna have to see if I can find a new seal for that. And I believe that it's actually hydraulic fluid that's leaking out of this, oddly enough, because if you follow these that go right up to the bottom, they come and connect down to this hydraulic and one on the other side for the steering. So I guess the steering column has hydraulic fluid in it, and that's probably why it all leaked out, because I popped open this cap and I am bone dry in there. So I'm gonna have to get a seal for that and get more hydraulic fluid and see if we can get moving.